On this episode of the J&B Bodyworks podcast, we have an amazing guest, good friend of ours here at the shop. He is a serial entrepreneur. This guy has opened, operated, launched a ton of businesses internationally and here in the hospitality space. He worked at the Gerber Group, where he oversaw over 30 different properties. And currently, he is the hospitality director at Classic Car Club. We talk about the club, events that they're going to be throwing on in the next few months and weeks. He talked about his first car, what was his poster car, and we got into some really cool stuff. So without further ado, please welcome Noah Weinstien. So we met through the club, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, but you met our father a few years back.
Yeah, so in about 2008, I bought a used Maserati Coupe GT, which predated the Gran Turismo. It was available in a manual.
What color was that?
Rosso red.
Okay.
Rosso Corsa?
Rosso Corsa is the Ferrari color.
Corsa, yeah.
Real quick, what was it like buying a car in 2008? Was it insane?
Much like it is today.
Yeah.
Bought it online, actually. Lots of pictures, lots of conversation back and forth online. Purchased it from a place in Naples, Florida. Had it shipped to New York, and when I got it, the paint looked a little iffy. In particular, on the pillar near the gas cap, it almost looked like it had been blended poorly. So I brought it to a friend who looked at it and said, I think it may have been painted, but I know the guy who can tell you definitively what the deal is. And that was your dad.
That was our dad.
Yeah. Yeah, so I brought it in, and it turns out it was just poor quality paint job from the factory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I don't like to talk about it, but it happens.
Yeah. So, well, it's a long time ago.
I really like that car, by the way.
It was all the power plant.
Okay.
It was all the power plant. It had the 360 motor in it.
Yeah.
It was a manual. The F1 was the weak link on that car.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had the manual. I did everything you could to make it a little sportier, but it was a GT car.
Yeah, that car and the Quattraport movies made me like that car. Those two cars.
Yeah.
The Quattraport was an Entourage, which I loved. And then in silver, Johnny Sack and Sopranos had that car, right?
Yeah.
And then Christopher had it.
Christopher had it. So it was the car Christopher had, but in a manual.
Okay.
So I dumped so much money into making that car sportier. Suspension, tube exhaust, the whole thing. It sounded great. It looked okay. It drove okay. It was fun. It was a lot of bang for the buck.
We should do a series about all the cars that were purchased because of Christopher Moltisanti, because a lot of our customers who love the Sopranos.
Christopher Moltisanti cars.
Yeah, like
so I had the same Range Rover as
I was just going to say, we have a customer
and
Range Rover.
At some point, I'm like
4.6.
4.6. So at some point, I was like, oh no, like what's going on here? Am I like, am I becoming Christopher cars? Yeah. So.
For better or worse.
Yeah.
So then, I mean, from what I understand, that car had a little bit of an interesting history.
Yeah, so I picked up that car. I brought it to your dad. Your dad said it was good. Don't get rid of it. I brought it to a Maserati Ferrari dealership in Connecticut, and I pulled in, and I got a lot of attention. And I truthfully felt like I was being not hazed, but like people were like, "Oh, look at the guy with the cheap car. It's not a Ferrari," And then next thing I knew, I was getting questions from the service managers. Where'd you get this car? Where'd you buy it? Who owned it? And they pulled up the VIN, and it turned out that it was actually spec'd and built for the CEO of Ferrari Maserati North America.
Wow.
So it was a one of one, tons of carbon, hand stitching, just lots of nice little tweaks that made it unique. And he drove it for, I forget what the number was, but let's call it 5,000 miles, and then they sold it. So I paid something like 70% of the MSRP.
Wow.
That's pretty cool, though, that he drove the car, and it was like manicured, in terms of the order, and it was like,
So I always wanted a Ferrari. My uncle was a Ferrari guy, and when I was maybe around 22, 3, I called my uncle, hey, Unc, there's this 308, I can afford it. It's the same price as a Subaru, and I think I'm going to buy it. And I was really excited, and he said, no, I get it. Take a breath. Just ask yourself, if the window switch breaks, will you be able to afford the $2,000 to repair the window switch,
That's
right?
Really sound advice.
So I didn't buy that car. Fast forward a lot of years, I bought the Maserati. And I was going through a toll, and I pressed the window switch to lower it, paid the toll before everything was easy pass, and the window wouldn't go back up. And I was like,
there's your uncle.
My wise uncle.
How much was that?
$2,200.
That's brutal. That is abusive.
Well, it's worse too. Like now, I've been seeing a lot of people talk about videos. If you get a Rolls Royce, for example, I saw this one guy, he made his following on Instagram and TikTok because he'll find the parts from BMW on that car that are like a third of the price.
Right. Universal Parts, yeah.
So now, I mean, listen, our mom, he likes to tell the story. Our mom had 2 Ghiblis, which is a car that people like to trash on. They really shit on that car, for lack of a better way of saying it. Love to hate. Yeah. And it was so reliable. But a lot of people like to talk about the parts bins, right? Like you look at that car.
Chrysler.
Have you seen the Tonale?
Yeah.
And the Hornet? It's
undeniable.
It's undeniable. Yeah. And so
I like the Tonale.
The Tonale's nice.
Nice spec Tonale.
So is the Hornet. You start to wonder, like, our cars, it's kind of like the movie business, right? Like, how many more Top Gun remakes do we need? You know, are we going to just keep sharing platforms? Like, you see the Taycan, then you see the Audi e-tron.
I think we're going to see more and more of it. Economies of scale. The first time I saw the Audi e-tron on the road, I was taken aback by how beautiful I thought it was. You know, it's a great looking EV. A lot of EVs aren't great looking. And I remember I got to the club and I asked Zach, our resident EV expert, and he was like, yeah, same platform, you know, basically the same car.
How do you feel about electric cars?
I like them. I think they're important. I miss the vibration and the sound of it, but I like them. We have quite a few. We have Lucids, we have Rivians, we have Taycan Turbo. I like them to varying degrees, but I think there's a place for them.
Yeah.
What's your favorite of those?
The infrastructure, by the way, is the problem, not the cars.
Yeah, I agree.
The Taycan Turbo. So the Lucid is undeniably a great car. The Taycan Turbo speaks to me the most. It feels like a Porsche.
Okay.
Like they nailed it. It's the one EV I've driven that's based on an ICE car that really feels like the brand. It's
okay.
They nailed it. It's on brand. You can drive
it.
It
looks the best.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Sometimes
I mean, the Panamera now looks like it, right? So
a lot of people come in and they say it's a nice Panamera. I think as an American who likes wagons, I'm kind of in a bit of like a weird section of people who don't really get talked to at the car meets. But I think the Sport Turismo is a really nice car.
I like the
so
Sport Turismo
we have one of those. It's amazing looking. I think they're
like
great.
in that nice blue you've been seeing them in.
Yeah, we have it in.
That blue's hot.
I'm not sure. I'm blanking on the name, but we have it in that chalk. I think it might be called chalk.
Okay.
Chalk gray.
Is it called chalk on a 911 or a Porsche? That
I'm
gray?
pretty sure it's chalk gray.
Chalk, yeah.
I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I think it's chalk gray.
I could be wrong too.
So let's take a step back and talk about who you are and what you do and get into that.
My name is Noah Weinstien. I'm the managing director of hospitality at the Classic Car Club in Manhattan.
Can you explain to those people out there exactly what Classic Car Club Manhattan is and what you do and the whole situation? Because we are members and we go a ton. And every time that we invite someone, they're like, what is it? I don't understand the idea. So just break that idea down for people.
Sure. So it's the best kept secret in the world, which at times is a blessing and at times a curse, right? We were founded in London in 1995. We came to New York 10 years later in 2005. Initially, we were basically a large showroom / warehouse space, a garage space, with a fleet of give or take 30, 35 cars. And the premise was you could join the club and drive the cars. So in 2005, if you were of a certain age and you made it, right? You got the job, you were making a little bit more money, you were living in the nicer apartment, you were buying, now custom suits, you were staying in nicer hotels on vacation, you were going to go out and get a car too. We were talking about, halo cars and things we wanted when we were at that stage, right? So maybe that was a 911 or maybe it was an M3. And if you look at the cost to lease or purchase any of those cars, you have the lease or the purchase and then the depreciation.
Right.
You have the insurance, the maintenance,
the garage in Manhattan, which is
all
insane.
of that stuff. And then when you're done adding all of that up, you're talking about $2,000 to $3,000 easily.
Plus, if you're making the money to afford a car like that, you're probably not driving it much because you're working so damn much.
You're working a lot, right? So you're driving it 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 4 days a month, whatever that might be. And so the premise of the car club was that we had the answer for you for any occasion. So if you were going skiing, you might take a Defender or an RS6 Avant, right? You're a station wagon guy, right? So if you're going to your high school reunion, you're driving your son or daughter to the prom, you might want a convertible Rolls.
Right.
We have the answer for everything, whether it's a Taycan Turbo, a 69 Bronco, a Huracan Performante, GT3. We sort of have the answer for everything. And so as a member, we have social membership and driving membership. Social members have access to the club at all times, 7 days a week. They can come dine, drink, entertain clients, brunch with the kids, host events, attend our events, whether they're in the clubhouse or around the world. Social members can apply to be driving members. Driving members have access to the fleet. And it's an additional cost, and that cost is directly correlated to what you want to drive and when you want to drive it.
That's sick.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, honestly, it's if I was that person in the city who quote unquote made it, I think that's for me the only way you can do it. I don't see it being, people do it, but I don't see it being feasible to own cars that you guys have in the fleet in the city reasonably if you're not a member of the club. I just don't think it makes sense.
So we have members who don't have driver's licenses, and we have members who have fleets larger than ours, and they may store them in New Jersey. And so the problem with that is, you have 9 cars, you love your cars, you want to drive your cars, but you have to go get that car. That car's an hour away. You need to notify whoever it is who's storing your car. Have my car ready. We're located in Midtown Manhattan. We have a massive, beautiful clubhouse that's
right on the highway and right on the water.
Yeah, so we're accessible for everyone coming in and out through the West Side Highway. We sit on the Hudson River. We accommodate about 250 people. 250 people out.
Can you park on premise?
You can park on premise. It's not guaranteed. We recommend you let us know, but we have a private parking lot. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So we can seat 250 people outside on the river. And then we have an 8,000 square foot showroom where we house the cars, but you can dine amongst the cars. We have a private sim room, we have a private dining room, an event room, and then we have a bar and restaurant. So 6 days a week, we're operational as a full-blown restaurant and event space. So you can come in, it's members only and their guests. So there's sort of an exclusivity without being pretentious, which we really pride ourselves on. I always say we're the least pretentious private members club in the world.
Yeah, I 100% agree. The first time we ever went after, I think it was a comedy event. We were in the city for something like that.
Comedy night, yeah.
And we went in, and I hadn't even pictured a place like you guys have. It really did blow my mind. But the thing that really stuck with me, and even to this day, you go in there and you're not just another face. Like, Hicham, Julian, Shane. Like, people come, they shake your hand. Like, you don't.
Yeah. It's a really social atmosphere, which is great.
Yeah. So, the shiny objects draw people in. You see the car, you want to drive the car, you want to be near the car, but it's really the experiences in the community and the networking opportunities. I mean, we see the same faces sometimes 5 days a week. We have members who come in 5 times a year. We have members who come in 5 times a week, and we know we're going to see you tomorrow, and you're going to see us tomorrow. So it's very much a family atmosphere in that our members want us to be great. So, I've been in the hospitality business for a long time, and usually when you make a mistake, the customer or the guest is really quick to point it out, and they want something. I want a discount on my bill or whatever. Yeah. At the Classic Car Club, it's, hey, everything was amazing. I waited an extra 3 minutes for my table. Just wanted to let you know your team at the front desk were phenomenal at making me happy while I waited.
Right.
So it's really... it's a collaborative process with the members.
Yeah, this must have been the perfect thing. Like, you came up in hospitality, and were you always a car guy, or was this something that just kind of took place once you joined the club?
And what was your background in hospitality like?
Sure. So always a car guy. Grew up, my older brother drove a 2002 before I had a license. I remember swapping out an Alpina rear end and transmission into that car.
Yourself?
I was the guy handing the tools to my brother.
But still that guy with my dad.
Yeah, exactly. But we did it ourselves in a parking lot. My dad had an old 5 Series with an M5 engine in it.
Wow.
So I've been a car guy my whole life, for sure.
What gen was that?
E28, possibly. But yeah, so always been a car guy. I was sort of the outlier. I liked European cars when most of the people around me were driving muscle cars. So guys were driving Camaros and Mustangs, and I was driving a Volkswagen 16-valve GTI. And my car was a great handling car that had European characteristics, and their cars would just have massive horsepower.
Right.
And so I've always been a car guy. My background in hospitality is really, I had my own company for about 7 years with a business partner who happened to be my oldest friend in the world. We went to preschool together. We started a marketing agency, and we were representing nightclubs, bars, and lounges, primarily in New York and the Hamptons. That grew to become Miami and Vegas a little bit. And then several years later, I became director of marketing and events for Gerber Group, which at the time was called Midnight Oil Company. That is and was Randy Gerber and his brother Scott Gerber's company. At the time, we had probably somewhere around 25 properties. I came on board. We opened another 15 or so. I was elevated at some point early on to managing partner.
Nice.
Yeah, I really felt like I reached the top of the mountain. I was working for some of the smartest people in the business. We were the original hotel partner. So we launched the W brand with Barry Sternlicht.
Very cool.
Yeah, so we were all the whiskey bars, Stone Rose, all those bars. So I did that for 12 years and felt like I got a PhD doing it, operating at the highest level, dealing with developers and owners of properties. So I don't know, throughout my career, I've probably opened, managed, operated, and owned somewhere in the realm of 60 properties.
Wow.
Yeah.
And cars must kind of go. Yeah, we wow. We plan that.
Wow.
Cars definitely go hand in hand with that sort of like the people that you must be around, or the people who like to frequent those places, I'm sure.
Yeah, fortunately, people who like good restaurants and good scotch and good steaks also often like good everything, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
cars, motorcycles, all of that included. Growing up, my uncle owned an Indy Ducati race team.
Oh, wow.
So I was in...
Too much. Too much wow.
It's a real wow thing.
Yeah, it's wow. So I was around that a bit as a teenager. So it was always a priority for me. I always
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Manhattan and went to high school in Westchester.
Where?
Ossining High School.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
So wrestling school.
Yeah.
We
So
were wrestlers.
yeah. So when I was there, our wrestling coach was Sports Illustrated Coach of the Year.
Wow.
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 All right, we gotta work on that.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll cut the Ossining thing.
We should cut the wows too.
Yeah. But I moved right back to the city after that. I went off to college, moved right back to the city. So anyway, back to hospitality. I met the Classic Car Club guys in 2005 when they opened. A client of mine and one of their first members just said, you guys have to know each other. We met for a drink on a rooftop, and I left. I walked down the street, and there was an F430 and a GT3 parked on the curb. And as I was walking away...
What gen GT3?
997.
997, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Two of my favorite
correct.
cars.
997, like 2005, 6, something
Yeah.
like that was. So as I'm walking away, I see beautiful cars. And Michael, I believe it was Michael and Zach that I met with. And Michael said, well, which one do you prefer? And I asked if they were both stick. And he said, no, just the GT3. And I said, then the GT3. And he tossed me the keys and said, see you later.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was friendship first with us searching for ways to collaborate. They had asked me if I was interested in joining them and helping them build this business back in 2005 or 6. And I had just recently started this new job working for Randy and his brother. So the opportunity wasn't there. We kept in touch. We did a rally to my bar and hotel in New Orleans.
Very cool.
It's my favorite city in America.
Yeah, it's a special place.
It is.
But you have to know where to go and what to do. And so we rallied down. We had a welcome party at the bar and restaurant, dinner and all that. And then you do what you do when you're in New Orleans.
Yeah. Fall asleep on Bourbon Street.
Fall asleep standing up, leaning on a wall on Bourbon Street. Yeah. But that relationship just evolved over the years, from friends to some happy hours in my places. And then fast forward to 2011, we decided collectively, Phil, the CEO and founder who opened CCC in London in 95, and Zach and Mike, who opened Manhattan with Phil, the four of us decided we wanted to build more of a hospitality project. So we wanted to marry what I was doing with what they were doing, and we found a way to partner doing that. We looked for real estate for 2 years unsuccessfully, and then eventually I just kind of went back to work and said, I'm a partner in this company. I'm running a massive operation, and call me if something happens, kind of thing. No ill will, still remained friends, still kept in touch, but we missed our opportunity. It was like two ships passing in the night. Fast forward to 2021, they called me and asked me if I wanted to come join the team finally.
And was that location, how long has the club been in that location that it's in now?
So we are in our current location for about 7 years.
Okay.
So yeah, so I joined a little over 2 years ago.
So there's some word out there you guys may be moving.
Yes. So we are moving next year into a new space, which I can't discuss the location yet. However, it's a beautiful space. It's nearby to the current location. We will have approximately 4 times the outdoor space.
Wow.
Much larger clubhouse.
That's great.
More robust offering as far as programming within the building, multiple floors. So we'll be able to have food program, 1 on this floor, food program 2 on that floor.
Oh, that's great. So there'll
Yeah.
be a couple options.
Yeah, I mean, our membership calls for it. We have a really sophisticated membership. Our men and women travel the world. They dine in the finest places. They drive the finest cars. And so this is an opportunity. This is 3.0. It's an opportunity to upgrade.
So going back to kind of what we were talking about before, I think one of the reasons why J&B and the Car Club get along so well is I feel like from a branding standpoint, you guys have been able to do something that we kind of fell into, which was you guys have built this, you guys don't feel like a corporate space. You feel like a family space. We were talking about that before.
Yeah.
My brother and I have gotten decently close with Phelan. He's an awesome guy.
Awesome.
Who's son of Phil. When I've met Phil, he's definitely reserved, but he's a really cool guy. Obviously, you and us have become, close. And from a branding standpoint, or from your standpoint of somebody who's trying to make a hospitality project, how do you feel like you guys can maintain that or build that sort of a space?
It's a great question. It's hard to scale and stay grounded in your roots, right? So I was able to do that at Gerber Group. We were the best at scaling. So I've learned a lot from that experience, and I've opened so many places since. But it really comes down to the 3 guys, the founders. They want it to feel like a family business, right? And they treat employees like family. I'm very fortunate. I'm grateful every day. I get to go to work with people I like, respect, and we work our butts off. We work our asses off to provide the best for the members and our employees. So
it definitely shows when you get there. There's definitely like a wow factor, and I've never been anywhere like this before, and it really comes off with a big presence, and it's somewhere that you'd like to go back to. It's a place you'd like to spend time at. You don't want to leave.
Yeah, I think most people walk in and they immediately say, holy shit, I never knew this was here, and it's massive, and initially it's overwhelming.
When you pull in the parking lot, it's interesting.
Right.
When you walk in the front desk, it's interesting, and you want to know more. Than when you open that front door, I think
wild.
It just smashes you in the face, and you're like, I want to be here for a while. This is interesting. How do I come back?
Yeah.
It's really got that presence. You guys really did a phenomenal job. A to Z, food, atmosphere, drink, aesthetically, you get the water right there. It's just,
staffing.
You walk into the showroom, it's just like, again, it's just like constantly hitting you in the face that you're definitely somewhere that you've never been before, some place that's very, very special and very different.
Thank you.
So the first time we went to the club, and I was telling you, it might have been like 5 or 6 years ago we went the first time.
It's like probably 2018.
Yeah, and we weren't members until very recently. And I was a little drunk and walking around, and I went to the bathroom, and I was like, which is men's, which is women's? And you guys have this great whimsical sign.
Those are actual tracks, by the way.
Yes, yeah.
They're real tracks.
So
What are the 2 tracks?
I don't know.
the men's track.
I should
They're
know.
Real.
We should probably put a little sign
That
that
would be
says
cool.
what the name of the track is.
So the women's track, there's no way of really saying this politically or in a way that's not kind of wild, but it's a nice set of boobs. And I just thought it was so funny, so
Most people don't notice it, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very few people
So
notice it.
does
And
it
those
say
who do,
women's on
know. I don't think so.
So they might
But most
Natural selection.
But you can see people noticing it. They kind of step back and look at it again, and then they giggle to themselves. And
Sounds
they
a
go,
little more obvious. I
Yeah.
think.
yeah. But
So-
they're tracks, so it's all professional.
I was drunk and walked in, and I was like, this is hilarious. And it was right when the iPhone live pictures were like starting to be a thing.
Yeah.
So I swiped over and I went to take a photo, and of course, a young lady walked out of the bathroom, and I had my camera directly in her face when she was coming out of the
Oh,
bathroom.
you're that guy. Yeah,
Right. That's my picture would probably be on the
Cut.
wall. Yeah. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And then she turned and she was like, the sign. I was like, the sign. She was like, no, totally. I understand completely. So
Yeah, I mean, there's like this whimsical nature, during COVID, our signs didn't say, please wear a mask. It said wear a mask, don't be a wanker or something like that.
Yeah.
Look, we don't take ourselves too seriously. We have we provide a serious service, right? We're held to a really high standard.
Serious but not taking yourself too serious.
Yeah, you take yourself too seriously, and before you know it, nobody really wants to be around you. So, we try to provide, an incredibly unique atmosphere to do a lot of different things. It's very difficult sometimes to be everything to everyone, and we know we can't do that, so we just try to be ourselves,
What's your favorite car in the fleet right now?
Such a hard job. For what though? Like, am I going to get groceries? Am I going to the track?
So we asked this question. This is a good one, and my answer changes all the time. His changes all the time, and I actually want to hear your answer because you were thinking about it the other day and you didn't really give me a good answer. Dream 3-car garage. Prices no.
Oh, that's impossible. I'd rather answer favorite car in the fleet.
Okay, 2 favorite car in the fleet, or I'll give you just some more specifics because then, and I'll answer first if you want. Your Grail car, which I mean, if you had one of those sick apartments where you could put your car in it, this is the car you would put in it. You might even not even drive it. You look at it. The weekend car, so it's a little bit less practical, but you could still drive it a lot, reliable, and you're daily. So for me, that's something that's fun, a little bit under the radar, reliable, but also like gets me there.
Yeah.
So I always say my daily driver is the RS6 Avant. I think that car, you could have a family with that car. You could throw all the soccer bags in the back, but it's an absolute rocket ship.
Lacrosse bags, by the way.
Right. Yeah. Lacrosse bags. That's what you do. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My kids are gonna wrestle and do soccer, but okay. We'll say. And then my weekend car probably would be a GT3 Touring. I think that car is the perfect weekend car. It's got the speed, but it's a little bit more understated than a normal GT3. And then a XJ220 is my grill car. I think that car is stunning. It's fast as hell. It blew cars away at the time, and it still holds up. So that's to give you some sort of an aspect of what we're looking for. What do you think? Your 3-car garage.
Your 3-car garage. It's so hard.
It is hard. Money's no object.
The car where it's like money's no object and like it's more a piece of art and just like I can't believe this car is in front of me is the Enzo. It's always the Enzo. It's like my favorite car forever. My weekend car right now, that's just like changes all the time. It's probably like an F8 convertible.
Yeah, it's hot.
Yeah, an everyday car. That's really the toughest one, honestly.
You currently need an everyday car.
And I currently need an everyday car, and I'm probably not going to get the everyday car that I really, really want.
His everyday car has lights on it and is like sounds like it's going to explode. So
I'm waiting for it to catch on fire. Once it catches on, it is a 2012 Cayenne Turbo.
I saw it outside.
Yeah,
it's a nice car.
It's going to catch on fire soon. So I got to really.
They're great cars. Yeah.
They're cool. I don't know. Maybe a new RS6 would probably be my everyday car. I don't know. So many. It's that's the toughest one for me.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
I think you can learn a lot about a person from that question.
Yeah.
So mine's actually really similar to yours. It's just different brand. So I think as an everyday car, they don't sell it here, but this is a dream, so I can bring it here. It's probably an M3 Touring, the wagon.
Okay.
I think that'd be the everyday. The weekend car would probably be the new 911 ST.
I think it's crazy.
Yeah, I think there are only something like 1,963 of them, right? So that thing looks amazing, very similar to a GT3 Touring. And then the Grail car, I don't know because it's not the most expensive, but there's something about a 3.0 CS, fully restored.
Okay.
Maybe a little retro modded, like maybe a little bit more current.
I like now you see all the
it's a favorite of my dad's.
Current BMWs have that
heritage
panel badge on them that car kind of I think was probably the first car that had it.
Yeah,
the car had a pretty big funky grill too.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've never had one. I've never driven one. But every time I see one, I just kind of ooh and ah and have to talk to the person who's driving it. Yeah, that's just sort of they're much more expensive versions. Of
that's a specific car.
What do you think that car costs now?
You would probably know better than me. In great shape, $100,000, $120,000.
Prices of cars are crazy right now.
Wow.
What that ST, did you see?
Your everyday car may be more expensive than your grill car.
I think it is. Yeah, so it's not about money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read an article saying that the ST, you can buy the car, but they are maintaining the cars as a lease
the
for
first
a
year lease.
So you can't flip it.
Which I like, right? Like we have a ton of customers, not to shit on any of our customers, that are in and out of cars in 6 months.
Yeah.
And, we're motorcycle guys, which you don't see it as much. I mean, you might see it like that Ducati has that Lamborghini 63,
Street
what's
Fighter.
that bike, Diavolo? Yeah, and the street,
Yeah, they do the Diablo. I didn't know they did it with Street Fighter. And they actually do an SVJ.
Think they just released, I thought they just, maybe it's a Panigale. I thought they released a Street Fighter that's a Lambo livery.
But you see it in watches too, where people are just in and out of these things, like things that I really find a liking for and would like to, affordably buy something. Listen, okay, the ST is a car that I think is specifically made for a very important clientele. Right? Like somebody like Jerry Seinfeld probably gets an ST, right?
Absolutely.
But there was that whole thing with when the Ford GT came out and John Cena had one and he flipped it and he signed that contract. I do think it devalues
And he
the
won.
car.
He won that lawsuit.
Right.
So we have one. So
you
we have
did.
we have a Ford GT. Yeah, and we've never bought a car as an investment, but we don't drive this one.
Really?
Okay.
I didn't know. That's awesome. Have you driven it?
No,
I've heard it's incredible.
it gets moved from like this spot over here to that spot over there.
I just don't know like what happens to car culture if it. I think it's been like that for a long time, right? Where people buy cars just to be able to buy cars, right?
Yeah.
I just don't know where it goes.
Well, I get the idea that you buy something and it doesn't live up to the hype, or it
That's
doesn't
fine.
suit your lifestyle.
That's fine.
Or, I mean, it's sort of the premise of what we do, right? There's really no one car. Your R6 Avant can't do absolutely everything as much as in your mind it does, right? But it doesn't really. It's pretty close, but it doesn't really, right? It's not a convertible in the nice weather. It's not, rear-wheel drive when you want to drive a real sports
You're not
car.
gonna take that on the date with that girl from Tinder, I mean, we might, but
Yeah.
I think it's like there's kind of two people out there, people that are kind of using cars as an appliance. Like you have a goal with it. It's either to get to A to B, or if you're kind of gross, you're using it just to make money.
Yeah.
But then everyone else has kind of like a romantic attachment to a car, and like the idea is you're gonna kind of like fall in love with this thing and grow old with this thing, and like really learn the idiosyncrasies, and like that's what makes you fall in love with the car.
maybe
Like
you work on it a little
that
bit.
idea that you're going to inherit your father's car, right?
Yeah. Like the most in love I've ever been with a car. My first 911 was a C2 cab 997, and just nothing sounded like that. I would rip up the spring, set third and fourth, and just like the car was just like possessing me, screaming at me to drive harder, and it's just like I've never had that connection with the car. I felt like I was a part of the car. And like if you're just in and out of these cars, it's just a status thing. It's a money-making thing. You kind of lose what, car enthusiasts have and make you just really love a car. Like you just lose that whole
Well, how many times
feel.
have you heard that somebody wants to buy a car they had years ago? I mean, that's me with my E36, right?
Right.
So my E36 M3 was my version of your 911,
Right.
And those cars will always hold a spot in our hearts, right? And we'll always
What was
look
that
at
car?
them. That was a 95 OBD1 E36 M3. Coupe, manual,
Color?
Alpine white with Dove Vaders.
Okay.
Sick.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah,
The Vaders.
It was very Miami, even though I didn't realize it at the time.
I fall in and out of love with the idea of a white car. Sometimes I absolutely love it because it just really pops on some cars. Something about it is very like Italian Sweet 16 gift, you know what I mean? And something's just a little, I don't know, on a Beamer, I don't always love it. And repairability standpoint, I think the colors fade a little bit. I think it's difficult to match.
Yeah.
I do love that it always looks clean.
It does always look clean.
I don't know.
There's one on, a platform that I won't mention. But there's one on a platform right now. It's got 14,000 original miles.
Wow.
I think it's got several
Rhymes
days
with
left
fling a
on.
mailer.
Yeah. I think it's at 51 grand right now.
Wow.
And it's got days left.
Crazy.
Yeah, but it's my car. My brother actually sent it to me and didn't even say a word, just sent it to me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy
The links
shit,
and
that's
everything.
my car.
If you could get it spec'd any way you wanted it now, would you do it the same way?
You mean colors and stuff?
Yeah.
Ooh, for nostalgia, probably. But if I never had it, no, I don't think so.
What would you do?
I don't know. I mean, Dakar yellow is amazing,
Yeah,
but
I
I don't
love
know
that
that I would
color.
want to be in a Dakar yellow car all the time. But maybe they made a diamond black that was like a metallic that was very nice. I don't know. I recently saw one that I don't think was distributed here that was like a green.
Okay.
Like a British racing green.
Yep, metallic or flat?
Flat.
Okay.
I don't know if that's even a
I
stock
saw
color.
another one on that same bid site that we won't mention in that color, I think, and it was like
silver is really nice too.
Yeah.
Silver, it's just the car looks good in silver. But anyway, I don't know. I think I'd take it in any color, just about.
if you could have only one color for every car from now till you die, generic color. Doesn't have to be like
Well, if I add it up, I've had more white cars than anything else.
more white.
Yeah. I
Is
mean,
that
I
what
think
you'd stick
Italian
with?
cars should be red.
Okay.
British cars should be green.
Green, yep. French cars should be blue.
Yeah, German cars, it's a little bit more, whatever looks good. I think I'd have to say white. I think I would have to say white.
Yeah, I'm remembering Mom only having the S-Class in white, and she had that Lexus truck. Everything else has been all over the
Lexus truck
place.
was black.
So let's see, would the RS6 look good in white? No, see, I don't think I'd want an RS6 in white.
No.
For me, I could do almost everything in either black or silver. I don't know which one wins.
Yeah.
I really like silver a lot. I really like black a lot. Black just doesn't always show
Doesn't always show the lines of the car,
very
and it looks
well.
dirty all the time.
And it always looks dirty, but nothing looks better than a black car.
Okay, so my favorite current paint is probably the Isle of Man green on the
Okay,
on
that
the
is a
M3s.
very cool color.
Do you guys have a favorite color? You see so many cars, you paint cars all the time.
Man,
That's a tough one.
that's a really tough question. That's a very hard. It's gonna come to
Because
me.
I took the
You
best
give me some
answer.
time. That's
Yeah.
a very, very good answer.
My favorite, one of
I've fallen out of love with a lot of stuff. So
my favorite spec tends
Bahama
to be
yellow.
Yeah, you always say that. Bahama yellow. My favorite spec always tends to be a bright, vibrant, metallic British racing green S color with brown interior. I think that is just super classy. I don't think it works on every car,
Right.
but I've seen that color combo on a few cars that have just made me say that is quintessential class. Like I'm thinking in my head right now, just picturing an Aston Martin
Of course.
with green and brown interior, and that's just stunning. Other than that, I mean,
So that's two greens.
it's two greens.
Which who
green's
would have
very
said green?
in trend right now too.
Oh, is
Yeah,
it?
I would say so. I think we're falling out of it a little bit.
greens are definitely in. I mean, that color.
Like I think it's starting to die.
Well,
but,
like chalk was we
chalk
saw
and chalk alternatives. Yeah.
Yeah.
we saw
Brooklyn gray.
I think we
chalk.
had
Yeah.
3 chalk GT4s at one time. That color just
And each guy came in. No, there were we had 3 chalk GT3s, and each guy came in
GT4s.
like no.
Threes?
They were 3s. Yeah.
wow.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And each guy came in back to back to back, and just really told me at length how rare that color was.
Yeah.
And then the next one rolled right in. I was like, I'm the only guy that has it. And then the next one came in.
By the way, we have a chalk GT4.
GT4, yeah.
With I don't know what the color is, but they're like gold, bronze. What's the color?
It starts with an A.
Yeah,
Is it
So we
Ontario or
have
something?
the Taycan Cross Turismo
Okay.
in that color with those
Chalk.
wheels, and we have the chalk, and we have a GT4
Which-
same setup.
from a repairability standpoint, is a nightmare.
Nightmare.
It is a nightmare.
Well, there's a lot of. I would venture to say that if you got, any color, like let's Isle of Man green, you just said it right. You bring in 3 Isle of Man green M3s, the same color will not match. You'll have to make a different sprout for each one.
Sure.
But if you look at them, they kind of all look the same.
Right.
At that time, we had those 3 chalk GT3s, and they looked wildly different. Like from the naked eye, next to each other, you could see this one was way more yellow, way more green, way lighter, way darker. And if you see like our spray out book that we made in the first, 3 months of chalk gray,
Yeah.
it's like that.
Really.
Where it's
And each spray out is like a millimeter.
like the only thing that we
so
have that
thin,
compares
paper
is
thin.
like Rosso Corso, just because of how long they've made it and like the age and the wear of the cars. It could be so different, but like that color being so new, it's like knocking on the door of the same amount of swatches that we've made.
So what are
Do you think other people would notice the differences, or is
I
it
think if
because
you were
guys do
looking
what you
for
do?
it, yeah,
we
for
can,
sure.
we can mostly coach people into seeing it, and it's something we try not to do unless we need to.
Yeah.
Because you could ruin a person's car.
You could also hit like a point where you're looking at a color. Like if I'm like, what do you think? Does this door match? Does it not match? And like after long enough, you can convince yourself that it does or does not match.
Right.
And it's like, what am I looking at? But
What
yeah.
are 3, like if you had to, someone said I'm going to buy a new car, what color should I get? From a repairability standpoint, are there 3 colors? Like, what do you stay away from?
It kind of depends on like if you're trying to keep them clean, if you're just trying to match paint, what you're looking to do.
As a guy who owns a body shop, what do you think?
I hate pearl white. I absolutely hate pearl white. I don't think it looks good. It's very difficult to match. From factory, it never matches. I think there's so much millage on the panel that I think it sometimes looks a little bit wavy. I just do not like it. Sometimes a metallic black can be a little difficult. It's a lot of pearl. Like I don't really love Daytona Nero for similar reasons. Grays are a little difficult. Silvers are a little difficult. Even like a flat white can be tough. I think black is always going to be a little bit easier. Colors with no metallic.
Flat black, yeah.
are going to be a little bit
Not flat,
easier.
but like a non.
What about quality of paint job from the factory? Who's doing it the best?
That's a good one.
And I know you guys deal with all the manufacturers. That might be a question you don't love answering, but
Yeah, there's also a lot of different answers to that question because like there's.
Okay, so let's remove the Halo cars, right? Let's take Bugatti out of the conversation. Rolls-Royce,
Yeah, I think Rolls-Royce and Bentley do a great job. A lot of their colors, they double clear, so they look super glossy, super thick, without being wavy, and they have almost no orange peel, so it almost looks like you're looking into a mirror. Mm-hmm. But like Porsche does a great job. Like we very, very rarely see a factory defect. I don't love the paint on a BMW because I don't like the level of orange peel or distinction of image that you're going to see. I really think that in terms of a matte paint job, Mercedes-Benz has it nailed right on the head.
Oh, yeah.
Some other matte paint jobs I see that are absolutely atrocious. So much orange peel, don't love the level of shine. I think Mercedes-Benz, it's very durable. I also tell everyone never get a factory matte car because they're very difficult to maintain.
I was going to ask, so what do you do with all these factory matte cars in 4 years when they're all shiny?
You just have to wrap everything immediately before you put 10 miles on it. Get it towed.
It has to pretty much come immediately to us, or a wrap shop.
But a great option is also just getting a gloss car and wrapping it with stealth. I think you get the same end result. I just think that if anything happens to the car...
That's a matte PPF. That gives the impression that the paint was matte in the first place.
Right. It's the same thickness as a regular PPF. Yeah. And I think it just, you're not going to get that look with a vinyl. It's got it's very durable. It's somewhat self-healing. It's got like somewhat of a wet look. It's not matte. It's like it's satin, which is good because if it's too matte, it'll scratch very easily. Okay. And just kind of looks cheap.
Have you ever had any accidents? You ever been in a car accident?
Yes.
Any fun stories with that?
None of them were fun.
Yeah, sure.
But
maybe looking back.
Yeah, so I had a 300ZX twin turbo with a little bit of work done to it, and it was a beautiful winter day, sunny, warm, and the sun was going down, and all the melt on the road turned into black ice. So I was going 35 miles an hour. I had a very old friend of mine pass me in a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Actually, I don't think it was called a Grand Cherokee at that point. A Jeep Cherokee. He flew by me. He must have been going 60, and I was going 30 or 35. And I hit a patch of black ice, and I started to rotate towards the guardrail. I was able to recover it, but when I recovered it, I hit the black ice again because it was just one long strip, and I wound up in a ditch. And I had to take the T-top off and climb out
to
get out. Yeah, the doors were jammed shut. You hear people, I was in a ditch. I was literally in a ditch.
When was this? Sorry, what year?
15 years ago. I don't know, something like that. Maybe a little longer.
This is going to sound like cell phones were a thing at that point?
Cell phones were a thing.
Okay.
Wise ass.
Were the dinosaurs still roaming around? But I mean, were you able to call for help?
Yeah, I was able to call for help, call the tow truck.
Didn't you have an interesting bike crash story recently?
Bike crash story?
Was that you? Did you get into a bike accident?
No.
Okay, wow. Good.
Yeah, that is
definitely not.
Good.
No, somebody was telling us that they had a
yes, I thought
that they had a inflatable. We thought that was you.
No.
One of those what are they called? Airbag for the motorcycle.
Yeah, no, not me.
Well, that's good. Yeah, like you said, that's really good. I've been in a few accidents, but one story that I like that isn't an accident.
How many could you have been in? You're like 12.
Yeah. I have had.
Don't talk to my dad about that. Hot topic.
Hit a deer in one car, totaled it. 6 months ago, somebody decided to not look and turn into my car, T-boned me in my Tesla, totaled it. I was upstate snowboarding, and somebody was texting. Phones were a thing at that time, and rear-ended me, totaled it.
Yeah.
And then, I got T-boned. Somebody flew through a stop sign. So I've been in a few accidents, unfortunately. I can't do math anymore because my head's been rattled so much, but that's okay. I'm fine. It's got some stories. My favorite story that includes my cops or anything was when we were upstate. I'd really love if you remember the story to tell the story. We were in Wyndham where we used to skate about 2 hours up, and it might have even been that Cayenne.
Yeah, we were driving that Cayenne, and
It was late on a Friday, I think.
it was really late on a Friday. It looks like Michael wants to tell us a whole story.
Just try to help out.
We were driving to our destination. We were very close. We got through the main road. My dad was like, "Gotta be careful. There's so many cops." So we get pulled over. We were going a little too fast. We were in that Cayenne Turbo, which was like brand new at the time.
Yeah.
And he pulls us over. He takes, my license, PPA cards. He's there for so long in the back, and we're like, "What is going on? Like, I'm gonna get slammed with tickets. We're not from here.
Drive all the way back.
They don't
up to
like
the court.
that. It's gonna be like, come up here to go to court." And like out of nowhere, he just like comes back and he's like, "How's this car?" I was like, "It's cool." He's like, "Looks pretty sick, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool." And he's like, "All right." And he like gives me back my license. He's like, "Get out of here.
Yeah.
Next time I pull you over, you better have some bitches in the back." And we're
No
like,
kidding.
"Whoa, what happened?" And that was it.
Wow.
So
I love
Now
that
you got
story.
me saying wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I mean, there's always room for a cop like that who wants to just kind of, keep things light and make things fun.
yeah. So I suppose you've had all those accidents. I've only had one
In the Porsche.
in ever. Wow. Yeah. And I hit a deer like 6 months ago.
No, you got into an accident.
year ago.
Bronxville.
Oh,
Sleeping
yeah,
Guy.
yeah,
All of a
yeah.
sudden, no, the
Forgot
stories
that
come
one.
out.
You forgot
All
that
of a
one.
sudden.
That counted.
Yeah, that one count. To me, it didn't count.
It broke your heart.
It broke my heart.
That was a 991.1.
0.1. Black. The best way, pretty much for me. C2S cab. I was pulling out of a spot, feeling fine.
Not looking.
I was looking. And some older lady smashed me in a Camry. And I mean, listen, if you smashed me so hard on the right side that my left quarter is pushing my left door, could it all be my fault? Could it all be my fault? But when I hit
Well,
the
you would
deer
know, you're the
recently,
expert.
I don't think it was my fault. But everyone else seemed to think it was. I hit a deer recently, and like I don't know why I remember growing up, everyone always told me that if you ever think you're gonna hit a deer, and it's like the stupidest thing, like multiple people told me, speed up. And like the deer will just like pop in the air and like do a flip and land on its feet and like everyone's fine. So like I saw the deer coming and like I knew I couldn't avoid it.
So you
I'm
nailed
like,
the
let me
gas.
speed up, and I smashed this thing and it did not work like that at
The
all.
movie's lied to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, all my friends from high school were wrong.
Sounds like a cartoon.
Oh, yeah, the deer didn't flip over and land on its feet.
Yeah.
It was a terrible experience. At least Michael picked me up. It was at 5 a.m. I was going to work, and Michael picked me up. He didn't want to, and I made him.
Brother bond.
Good brother.
Yeah.
So I had a deer jump out in front of me on an entrance ramp once, and I avoided it. I put 2 BBS wheels over the curb onto the grass, destroyed the wheels, but
That was it?
But did not hit the
No
deer.
suspension damage, no body work?
suspension damage.
What car was it?
My GTI.
Okay.
Yeah, came with 3-piece BBSs.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I was on a motorcycle once in the left lane, cruising very slowly past the car in the middle or the right lane, whatever it was. And as I get next to the guy who's driving with his entire family, I look at him, he looks at me, kind of nods his head at me, looks forward again, and then proceeds to just swerve right into me. So I swerved to the left, stood up on my left peg, and kicked his door with my right leg.
Wow.
And he swerved back and then cursed at me that I had kicked his car. But
Wow.
But he tried to kill me. So that was a while ago. Nobody's tried to kill me recently.
What bike was that?
That's a great question. I don't remember.
You've always had a bike?
I bought my first bike when I was a freshman in college. My father, so I grew up around bikes. My uncle had the race team. My brother was riding bikes when he was probably around 19. The first time I rode a bike, I found it in the garbage with a friend. We fixed it. It was like a Honda CB350. We fixed it and we rode it. And we were doing 70 miles an hour, no helmet,
Probably
no
top
nothing.
speed.
Had no idea what we were doing, but we were riding a motorcycle. But my father forbid me from buying a motorcycle. So he said, while you're under my roof, you can't have a motorcycle. There's just no bumpers and, I don't want you to get hurt. So I went away to college and I bought a bike and I brought it home on spring break or summer or whatever it was. And he said, I told you can't have a bike while you live under my roof. And I said, but I don't live under your roof anymore. I live at school. He was like, you kidding me? But I've had a bike since then. So that's
college logic.
Yeah, college logic. So since I was 19, and I took a long break. I took a really long break. I didn't ride much for about.
My dad told me the same thing, and I came home with a Harley.
There you go.
And then he went out and got a Ducati like the next week. So he was. I don't know how serious he was about it. What's your favorite bike that you've ever had? Is it the one you have now?
Ducati MH900 Evolution. It's a limited edition Hellwood tribute bike. They made that bike just to take it to shows. I think it was like around 1999. And so it was a show bike that they toured around the world, and the demand to produce it was so great that they decided to make 1,000 of them.
Wow.
And they sold it online at the stroke of midnight, the year 2000. It was the first motorcycle sold online, I believe.
That's sick.
And it sold out in something like 28 minutes or 32 minutes, whatever. It sold out in a half an hour. So they produced another 1,000.
Wow.
And I was able to get one.
How'd you get your hands on that, on the second 1,000?
So it wasn't me. I was too young, despite the implications before. My uncle got it, and I got it from my uncle.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was and still is my favorite motorcycle. I think it's one of the most beautiful bikes ever produced.
Noah, tell me, in the next few months, what are some events coming up at the club that you're super excited about?
Sure.
Good question.
Sure. So we've got Fight Night coming up in November. I know you
Those
two
are
are a
great.
huge fan.
Those are great.
So that's coming up early November.
We need a table, by the way.
You need a table. I got you. We've got Comedy Night also coming up in November, which is something that existed pre-COVID that we brought back last year. We've done a couple of them. Huge success.
So what do you
lots of fun.
bring comedians?
Very similar to the way we set up the room for Fight Night, except we make the room as small as possible rather than as big as possible. And we have a guy who produces comedy shows, and he's a comic himself, so he performs, but he also really MCs, and he brings in talent. So we do dinner and a show at the club, which is really fun, and we only do it a couple times a year. We are planning F1 Miami for May, so we'll take 25 members down to Miami for 4 or 5 days.
Should we go?
You guys should definitely go.
Gotta talk to that.
Let me talk to that.
Yeah.
What else? We've been doing pop-up dinners with restaurants that we've invited in to operate.
Yeah,
in
there's
our
one
space
tomorrow,
one night.
right?
Yes, there's one tomorrow, so you should come. All the members should come.
This is Bonnie's was last time, right?
Bonnie's was the first one. We're doing another one tomorrow. You guys need a table. Consider it booked. You should come. So it's really nice because we're able to offer something different and special to the members, and we're handpicking the restaurants that we think are really cool and unique and innovative. We're bringing them in for a night. In some cases, we offer a smaller version of our standard menu for the people who don't want to participate. But, it's a one night, catch it or miss it kind of situation. Awesome. Yeah, so we're scheduling a bunch of those. We just had an incredible networking event, which we built a panel on collaboration, so the power of collaboration in business. So that might be collaborating with your constituents. It might be more often collaborating with other brands. Sort of, you could call this podcast a collaboration. 2 brands that operate in a similar space and have kind of the same ethos come together to create something bigger and better. So
would you say you're at the same level of operation that you were previous to COVID, or are you beyond that, below that?
So we're busier than we've ever been.
Okay.
The business has definitely evolved since COVID. COVID created a pent-up need to get out and do things. So people, used to hear that very young people weren't buying homes and apartments. They just wanted to travel the world and have experiences. And I think COVID caused everyone to feel that way.
What?
Yeah, everyone feels that way. So we're hearing about more young people buying again, but we're hearing about people of all ages who just want to travel, to have unique experiences. So, we provide that. Last June, July, we took 15 members to the Isle of Man for the TT races. So people,
bucket list kind of thing.
Yeah, we put together bucket lists.
Spa, Nürburgring.
We've done Spa, Nürburgring 2
really?
years ago. We did Isle of Man last year. We're talking about tour of Italy in Italian sports cars.
Like the heart of the club is cars, but it seems like the true heart of the club is motorcycles. Like it seems like that's everyone's honest
Well, it's
purest
so many
interests.
of our passions, right? So
Yeah.
it's funny you say that. So just today, I said I want to do a motorcycle trip. So we're planning a local
So
trip
that I'd really like to
a
do.
week from this weekend. So
Really?
two weekends from now, we're going to go upstate Saturday, stay over in
To
a
where?
hotel. Looks like we're going to make Hudson the destination. And
Love
the reason
Hudson.
for that is because there's so much to do. You can park your motorcycle in front of the hotel, and we can walk everywhere.
Yep, you do the motor.
It's not this weekend, but
Cafe,
next weekend.
Motor cafe. Yeah, so not this coming weekend, but the weekend after.
You guys have a relationship with some, like a cabin or something up there on the website?
So we have a lot of members and staff who have homes there. So yeah, we've been known to make them available to members on occasion.
Great.
Yeah, I mean full service. You want to stay in our houses, stay in our houses.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
we have a partnership with Moto Guzzi, and
So that adventure bike at the club the other day, that bike's hot.
yeah. So this is going to be a Moto Guzzi Aprilia getaway. So
Okay. Can I bring
we're
my
gonna
Ducati?
make. I'll be on a Ducati, but we're gonna make the Guzzis and Aprilias available to members if they don't
Cool.
have bikes but they have licenses. So we're gonna go up to Hudson, big dinner, and then the next day, whatever you want in the morning, maybe we'll stay together and do breakfast, and then ride around upstate and head
Very
back.
cool.
Yeah,
How does
you should
one-
come. I'm counting you in.
I'm gonna go too. Yeah.
I'll
You
go.
gonna ride?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Awesome.
How do you get involved? So how do you
yeah.
become a member?
Sure. Applying to become a member is very simple. You just go to our website, classiccarclubmanhattan.com. You can fill out an application. We review the applications periodically. We invite prospects in for a tour of the club, and it's an opportunity for us to get to know them a little bit. We're very inclusive. There aren't like boxes we need to check. Most people who come in either get what we do or don't, and it's sort of as simple as that. And then every 30 to 60 days, we admit new members.
Do you foresee the new location being more or less exclusive or about the same situation?
Yeah, so again, I think we are inclusive and we want to grow our membership. Our membership, as we look at it, is really about a community. So growing the community is a really important goal of ours, and it's how we get to know and work and become friends with people like you guys, right? It's how we come out to the car show to support the charity. It's all about building the community, getting to know people who are out there. So our membership will certainly scale when we move. We'll have more capacity, so we'll be able to do that and still maintain, amazing amount of space and comfortability and all of that.
Awesome. Perfect. Anything else you want to plug or promote or talk about?
Yeah, Noah for president 2025.
I love
I
it.
really, really like that.
Noah
Yeah,
for
so-
president. Buy more Ducatis.
Buy more Ducatis, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate you coming out and doing this.
Yeah,
This is
thank
awesome.
you so much
Thank
for having
you.
me. Well, we're big fans. There's no place we rather bring a crashed car than to J&B.
We appreciate. Nobody likes to see us, but
Yeah, we
we're happy
hate
we're
we
here.
hate seeing your faces, but if we have to see your face, no, but seriously, you guys are the
Thank
best
you.
in the biz, and we love working with you.
We have
And
good coffee, too.
you have good coffee. You make a good coffee. Yeah,
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
anytime, my pleasure.
Pleasure.
Cool.